I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm delighted to be able to speak on the House floor today and talk about what we're witnessing, all Americans, as we turn on our televisions and see the horrors in Europe. For the first time in 8 decades, we're witnessing a mass, unprovoked ground and air invasion in continental Europe. Not since World War II have we seen this sort of aggressive, evil action by one European nation against another, let alone such action by a global power and member of the United Nations Security Council. The tragedy unfolding today has no precedent in recent history, not even the terrible civil war and ethnic cleansing in the former Yugoslavia. Let's be clear, Madam Speaker, Putin feels emboldened and believes that he can wield his power anywhere in the world, including in his own backyard, in a pitiful but ruthless attempt to restore his idea of some 18th century Russian kingdom with himself as czar. He's emboldened by the fact that he has personally, and Russia as a nation, not paid any significant economic or diplomatic price for his previous violations of international law, the UN Charter, or common decency and norms. One only has to recall the poisoning in a London park of an opposition voice in 2006, forging a partnership in 2015 with the butcher Assad in the mass destruction, murder, and mayhem in Syria, waltzing into Crimea without firing a shot in 2014, and his border incursions into Georgia in 2008. He has simply marched on, trampling international law, sovereign borders, all the while thumbing his nose, Madam Speaker, at international norms and the negligible reaction of his neighbors. In fact, his neighbors depended on the European drug of choice, Russian natural gas, for so long they just stared glassy-eyed at their enabler, unable to stand up for themselves and fight back. Now, these neighbors have rejected the dominance of Putin's pushing and are fighting back. And that's why America once more steps into the breach as the essential, indispensable nation. Our resolve encourages a stronger European Union and a stronger NATO. During the 20th century, our freedom-loving people consistently stepped up to push back against the disposition and destruction of individual rights, international norms, and sovereign nations. Europe doesn't want to go back to their ancient feudal fights, and Ukrainians don't want to return to a vassal state status under the boot of Russia. Ukrainians want to go forward. They don't want to go backward. They don't want to go back to the Berlin airlift, Checkpoint Charlie, the Fulda Gap, and Churchill's Iron Curtain. At the height of the Cold War, Madam Speaker, I traveled through Checkpoint Charlie to the other side of the Iron Curtain. I've witnessed what life is like in communism, socialism. I've laid a wreath at Auschwitz. I've laid a wreath on Decoration Day at the American Cemetery in Normandy. And, Madam Speaker, Americans don't want to go back to those days either. Our boys sacrificed their lives in the forests of Germany, the beaches of France, the hills of Italy, and the sands of North Africa to prevent this very thing from happening again. That's why American leadership is critical. Partnering with our transatlantic allies, we must muster the military, economic, and diplomatic clout and might to hit this bully in the nose. Bullies only respect clout and might. While Europe and the United States were timid in the Obama-Merkel days, our collective leadership must fill the void now and push back once and for all against the assault against the sovereignty and freedom that we are witnessing in Europe. If not now, when? If not in Ukraine, on the borders of Ukraine, where, Madam Speaker? If we fail here, despots will race to trample borders around the world, and democracy and freedom everywhere will be in peril.